All right, guys, how are you? I'm back, and we're going after the stomach. I love the stomach. How many of you love your stomach? I love my stomach. Your stomach fits in your body right about here, and it's got the cardiac sphincter here, the pyloric sphincter here. It's about this size. It's supposed to be the size of 2 loose fists. So if you kind of put your hands together loosely like this, it's supposed to be about that size. It also is supposed to stay that size. The problem is, people like me love to eat, and when I eat, I stretch the stomach. Now, if you look at the inside of the stomach, you're going to see these folds on the inside, and they're called rugae. It sounds like rugby, the sport, but it's rugae. And the rugae allow for 2 things. 1, excess surface area, because if you have more surface area, you can secrete more, and you can absorb more. 2, it allows the stomach to go whoop on a big meal. It makes your stomach expand. It helps your stomach to expand. Now, you're not supposed to expand your stomach a whole lot. The problem is, I do it all the time. When I go to the Asian buffet over there next to the old Walmart in Alcoa, 4 plates. I have to eat 4 plates. And when I do that, my stomach goes, woo, and it gets super big, and it doesn't snap back as we get older. So a lot of people my age want to blame weight gain on metabolism. The culprit really is you spent years stretching your stomach, and it doesn't snap back. And so it stays big. Now, the only way you feel like you're full is if stretch receptors in the wall of the stomach actually stretch. They send a signal to your brain that says, hey, you're full, quit eating. And you know this because when people get a gastric bypass surgery, they essentially cut out something like 90% of their stomach. It's crazy. And a little bit of stomach is left, but if you stretch the walls of that tiny stomach, it sends a signal to them that they're full, and they stop eating, and that's how they lose weight. They take in less calories. The biggest culprit to weight gain is the stretching of the stomach over years and years and years because it won't snap back. Now, if you want to see somebody with a huge stomach, look up Joey Chestnut, hot dog eating champion. He's not a big old guy. He's a thin guy, but his stomach is like 2 loose basketballs, 2, deflated basketballs. And they're not snapping back because he has trained it to stay out by overeating constantly. So we're looking at the stomach here. And one of the main things we're going to look at is the biochemistry in the stomach, because we have the gastric 5. We've got them right here. It'll be a good idea to learn the gastric 5. And we're going to talk about the purpose. Because as soon as food goes 5 seconds down the esophagus and it passes that cardiac sphincter, which is also called the lower esophageal sphincter, you learn that from video number 3. This is video number 4. Then it drops into the stomach, and the stomach starts secreting things on it with a wave of movement every 20 seconds or so. Every 20 seconds or so, your stomach has a wave of movement that mixes all those gastric secretions in with your food. Your stomach does absorb a little bit. Waters, alcohols, light things, just a little bit, but it secretes more on your food than it actually absorbs. The major nutrients like the proteins and the fats and the carbohydrates, the sugars later, they're not absorbed by the stomach. They're going to be absorbed by the small intestines. So we're looking here at the stomach, and we have 5 secretions. The first one is this one called Pepsinogen. This word gen means beginning, and that's going to be important later, so hang in there. We're going to put the purpose of Pepsinogen at this point to be nothing. At this point, it doesn't do anything, because when it's first secreted, you don't want it to do its action. Because if it did its action, you would destroy the walls of the stomach. So Pepsinogen is kind of like a grenade. You know, you have a grenade and you want to pull the pin, but then you want to throw it away from yourself so the damage is done somewhere else. This is like a grenade with a pin still in. Okay, you want the damage to happen away from the wall of the stomach, more like inside the middle of the stomach. So you don't do anything at this point. You don't do anything until you meet HCl. And if you've had chemistry, you know HCl is hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid converts Pepsinogen to the next thing, which is Pepsin. Now, Pepsin is super important, very, very important, because what it does is it splits proteins. And we're talking any kind of protein that you have, whether it's chicken or peanuts or tofu or fish. It splits all these proteins into a smaller thing called into polypeptides. So it starts protein digestion. When you see this on a test and it asks you what it does, you should know it starts protein digestion by splitting proteins into polypeptides. This doesn't do anything. It's inactive at this point. But once it gets converted, it splits proteins, which are very hard to digest, by the way. Mucus. The purpose of mucus is to protect the wall of the stomach. So it's secreted all on the inside of the wall, kind of like Elmer's glue, and it's trying to protect the lining of the stomach as much as possible. Although you digest your stomach a whole lot, the lining is digested constantly. Mucus is there to try to protect it as much as possible from the harmful effects of pepsin, trying to digest any protein. And your stomach is a protein, your whole body is a protein. Now, intrinsic factor is the hardest one to remember, and this one allows vitamin B12 to be absorbed. You can't absorb it. To be absorbed. You cannot absorb vitamin B12 unless just messed up my wording here. Unless you secrete the intrinsic factor. Now, vitamin B12 is essential for red blood cell formation. If you don't have it, you have a condition called anemia, which is a lack of red blood cells, so you can't provide oxygen to your body. It also helps you with your nerve cells, and also helps you in forming new cells with DNA. DNA synthesis requires vitamin B12. All right, so these things are what we call the gastric 5. The stomach secretes more than these, but these are the major 5 ones to be ready for on your test. So, stomachs, I love them, awesome. Try to keep it small, that way it's easier to stay at a healthy weight. And overeating, probably a bad idea. Alright, so this is V, we're checking out for the stomach video. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you later.